This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right, now we're ready to rock with Manny, and he is, by the way, working it as always in Bradenton at IMG Academy. Got an opportunity to talk to some of the Miami recruits, and I'm sure some other recruits too. How you doing, my man?
Doing good, actually, already on my way back to South Florida. I finished up the interviews maybe half an hour ago, and it was cool to just sit down and talk to these guys a little bit. During the season, it's not easy to do. But now, sort of as they're wrapping up their senior years, all these guys are graduating early, heading off to college. It's good to kind of come down here and spend an hour talking to a couple of them, including Francis Mauigoa, who really is, I would say, the anchor of this recruiting class for Miami.
Yes. So talk to me. What did they say when you mentioned the team, the year, their futures? And any waffling going on, those kind of things. Talk to me a little bit about what the kids were saying.
Yeah, I don't think there's any waffling going on whatsoever with these guys. I really only got a chance to sit down with two of them. Both of them are the offensive lineman, Antonio Tripp and Francis Mauigoa, the 5-star offensive tackle. They played right side by side, left tackle and left guard for IMG Academy, who's one of the top 10 ranked teams in the country. And Antonio talked to me about how, he's one of the first commitments in this class, the 2023 class. He actually came down to visit Miami the same day that Mario Cristobal's mother died. And it was a really sort of awkward moment, right? You're coming here to visit the school of your dreams. He grew up a Miami fan in the Baltimore area because Ed Reed and Ray Lewis were stars for the Ravens. And he just always kind of liked Miami as a kid. And, comes down to visit with his family. And the same day Mario's mom passes away, he spends 3 hours with the kid, talking to him and showing him just how much he cared about him and wanted him to come to Miami. And he said, ever since that moment, it was like, no matter what, he was going to stick by Miami's side because of the commitment Mario showed him. And Georgia, Auburn, a couple of schools have come by IMG Academy. They've had 61 head coaches come by just in the past week because of the amount of kids that they crank out of that school every year. And, he's loyal. He's sticking to Miami. He doesn't want to leave Miami's side. And, he's an elite 6'3", 315-pound kid. His mom's Dominican. His dad's African-American and speaks a little bit of Spanish. Good kid. And then Mauigoa, it was interesting. He told me that the reason, a big reason he ended up picking Miami is that, all these head coaches, they text, they call, but he doesn't respond to all of them. And he said he wouldn't respond to Mario, and Mario kept texting him and kept sending him, sort of like little encouraging messages of, hey, we really want you. We really need you. And he said that stuck out like a sore thumb. He said no other head coach did that. He said when I wouldn't respond, they wouldn't continue to message me. Mario kept doing that. And it just showed me how much he really wanted me and how important I was. And so they've had everybody come after them, but all of these kids are sticking by Mario's side because Mario's stuck by their side. He's relentless. Yeah. And so, it sucked. Listen, they came down. They were here for, I think, 3 or 4 of the games that Miami lost at home. They ended up losing 5 home games this year.
Well, they lose a lot. So there's a good chance when you come see Miami, it's for a loss.
Yeah. So, kids came down. We're here for a lot of losing. And he said it sucked, to see their team get their asses kicked. But every time the game would end, they'd go back to the recruiting tent. Mario would come in there and say, see, this is why we need you. This is why we need you to come here. You can come in and help us right away. And so, recruiting's a funny thing. We always say, the team that wins gets the players. I think in this case, the team with the most loyal coach, the team with the coach who tells them we really need you, even if they go 5-7, you can hold on to some special players.
So you're telling us you just talked to Miami starting left tackle and left guard for next year?
Yes. Maybe. We'll see. Miami's got some guys in the transfer portal they're looking at, including a 2-year starter at left guard out of Alabama, who's Javian Cohen, who's coming down for a visit this weekend. So, I think – and Mauigoa's brother is another one at linebacker. He's not an offensive lineman, but a kid who was a third leading tackler at Washington State. I mean, there's a lot of guys in the portal. I just did a podcast earlier this week, the Wide Right podcast, where I broke down basically the whole roster. Um, I had a guest on. He and I, Andrew Farrelly, who's very well plugged into kind of Miami's NIL pursuits. We sat there and we talked about the guys that they really want. There's a lot of guys that they're looking at and pursuing, and guys that aren't even in the portal yet. Oh, that they're kind of waiting to see if they'll hop in the portal. Their agents are out there basically shopping them. So yeah, I don't know if these guys will be starting, but I'll tell you what, they'll be the foundation for Mario Cristobal for the next couple of years. And they look like really good players. They're both. I know Antonio Tripp. Some people he's only rated a 3-star or something. He's like ranked 400 something. But he told me he only gave up 1 sack all year, and he remembers the exact play that he screwed up on, and he talked about how much better he got being at IMG Academy and his weight, his eating habits. IMG Academy is basically college prep school where you have the top of the line facilities, top of the line coaching, and they prepare you for college for the schedule. So these kids will be well adjusted. They'll be arriving for spring football. My guess is they will be in the rotation.
What's how many are already transferring out?
From Miami, you're going to have 15. You've already had 15 guys announce that they're transferring out. You had 14 within the first 48 hours. And then last night, Brian Balaam, the safety, announced he was leaving, played 10 snaps last year. Really only one starter, and then another guy who was kind of a rotational piece. Daryl Jackson, the defensive tackle who started 12 games, basically went home to Florida State. His mom has been ill. I talked to somebody at Miami last night who said that they were aware this was going to happen late in the year. Jackson had been homesick all year and been telling them about his mother. So this didn't come as a shock to anybody on Miami staff. They were kind of preparing for it. They just obviously weren't talking about it in the public. And I think they were okay with it in the long run. They want to do good by the kid, and the kid was good to them. He started 12 games. He just has a tough situation back home. So he's the one that hurts. Obviously, Rooster is the big name because, hell, you got a nickname Rooster, right? But he's a guy that really, between the fumbles and the struggles that he had this year, the Miami coaching staff, I think, felt like with Don Chaney Jr., Trevante Citizen, and Henry Parrish, that those are their 3 best backs. And so he was kind of the 4th guy. Plus, Miami's got some kids that they're after, both recruiting and in the portal, guys that they're hoping hop into the portal. So, nobody besides Daryl Jackson, in my mind, that the team looked at and said, okay, we wish he was part of our plans.
Okay. All right. So what does that give him now total of scholarships and players that he can bring in now? If he's lost 16, how many did he have in the first place along with those 16?
Well, 15. He's lost 15 now.
I'm sorry, 15.
And some of those guys were graduates that were part of the list of about 10, 11 graduates. I think they're up to about 25, 26 scholarships. I don't have the chart right in front of me. I had it last night.
Ballpark is fine. Ballpark is fine.
Yeah, about 20, 25 scholarships, 26 scholarships. And then, there's probably, I would say, at least another 7 to 8 guys that in my mind will be leaving or announcing that they're leaving. And I think part of this is, again, Mario trying to help them, place them somewhere else. Or potentially these kids just becoming students and no longer being student athlete. Miami can take them off of scholarship and pay for their schooling if they're close to graduating or whatever the instance is. So I think that's why you may not hear some of these guys being announced. They may just sort of disappear into oblivion, where all of a sudden they're not on the roster anymore. You're like, well, what happened? And Miami doesn't come out and tell you what happened, but they're just not on the roster anymore. So that could be the case. I think that everybody who went into the portal is obviously trying to find a home, but like I said, there could be other guys that just get taken off and just become students.
All right. So we've mentioned this before, and you've explained it to us that if there's going to be any coaching changes, the way you'd like, or the way that you think Mario would like, is that a guy finds a home and then he kind of leaves instead of being outright fired in his first year. Okay, great. Now, you are in the middle of recruiting kids. Part of the reason why you recruit some kids, some of them come because of your specific scheme, this specific coach. So, what is the cutoff date? What is the moment where you know that this staff is staying put for sure, and that he isn't going to make any changes, and they are going to keep Josh Gaddis. I mean, make any kind of changes. Well, when is that? When is that deadline?
Some of it is just when contracts expire. Some of it could be through December 31st. Some of it could be through January 30th. It could be through February 15th. Whatever the contract says, and whether or not the school that they're going to is willing to buy them out. A lot of this is contractual. Guys could already know where they're going, and be in the process of making those plans. But until the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, and the paperwork is signed, and it becomes official, you won't see guys move. It's the way college football is. Guys are contractually obligated. And again, all of them have different deadlines. I'm not privy to whenever those contracts run through, but I would think that, again, unless the other school's paying off part of that, or they're just waiting for that contract to expire, you won't see those moves take place.
Okay. All right. That's all right. Good stuff. All right. Well, and then we shall wait and see what happens. By the way, did you think that the Florida kid should have declared for the draft, the quarterback?
I didn't. No.
That was weird, bro.
I kind of view him as I do Jordan Travis, in the sense that both of them are probably good college quarterbacks, but not necessarily.
Shit, but Jordan Travis improved as a passer. Like, every year he has shown you some growth. Richardson still is super green, dude. Like,
but again,
wow.
we don't know the financial situations of some of these kids. Some of these guys,
You are correct. Yeah,
may just want the lump sum signing bonus or whatever. And so
it could be Frank Gore, right? I mean, Frank had the knee injuries. He was kind of out of shape. He really didn't achieve what you thought he would at the U, and so he left.
Mom was diabetic.
Mom was on dialysis, and so he needed some money to start making a living, and he had to go. You're right. You're right. I remember that. That.
I think every situation is different, and I don't criticize the kids nowadays. I mean, look, Florida. They got Jaden Rashada. They have other guys that they're trying to get through the transfer portal. Every one of these situations, we tweet out and we write, such and such guy left. But in the end, unless we speak to them, or unless they come to us and voluntarily tell us, hey, I was run off, or B, I'm doing this for the money, we all just kind of guesstimate why this happened. Again, I'll say this. I know this from speaking to people on Miami staff as far as their departures. The only guy that they honestly would have liked to have in their plans moving forward was Daryl Jackson. I think everybody else was basically told, you're better off finding someplace else to play. We're moving on.
Right. Okay. Makes sense. It is what it is. All right. What else are you working on The Athletic, so folks can check you out and subscribe, please? Support Manny.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, look, besides podcast and this story that I'm going to do on the Miami recruits from IMG Academy, we do some fun activities. We just did a recruiting draft. Every Power 5 team, we did one round based on team needs. If high school recruits didn't have to be recruited, but they actually went into a draft, how would it shake out? Who would be the first pick? Who would be the 69th pick? Because there's going to be 69 Power 5 teams next year. So we went through that whole exercise. I drafted for every team in the state. I drafted for Maryland, Rutgers, and a bunch of other teams with some of our recruiting staff. There's going to be there's going to be a recruiting confidential series where we talk to a lot of high school coaches to get their honest opinions about who's doing the best job on the recruiting trail. And then there's plenty of recruiting coverage, transfer portal coverage. I mean, the people that I work with, man, The Athletic is, if you hate me, there's a lot of people who hate me for whatever reason. But
that cannot be true, bro. And now
I have plenty of Manny Navarro
somebody that you broke a story on,
right?
I can see somebody in the biz like that you covered it, but come on, bro.
Well, listen, I appreciate that. But there are a lot of great writers who do a great job, talking about college football, columnizing on it, topics, etc. This sport is changing so much right now. That between the transfer portal, NIL, and recruiting, and what it all means, there's a lot of interesting stories to tell, and I think we have a great staff of writers, and I'm just happy to be a part of that team and be part of the national coverage. I think it's as a cool place to work as there is right now in journalism.
There you go. Follow him on Twitter at Manny_Navarro, and please subscribe to The Athletic. You'll get amazing coverage locally and nationally, and even internationally with the little football
World Cup.
action.
Yeah, we got a lot of writers.
Although very, very disappointing, bro. Brazil lost.
Big choke I saw as I was driving.
Yeah, no, but I just like the stands when Brazil is in there.
Yeah,
because,
we all do.
They break away from the pitch and they go and they find, like we were just talking about this, okay? Brazil versus Colombia. Is there a more beautiful match? Not on the pitch, but around the pitch.
Yes.
Still in Colombia. Is there another country that you're going to slip out and put in?
I don't know.
I know tough, right?
It is very difficult for a hot-blooded Latin man to disagree with you right now.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, bro. So you got to call it like you see it sometimes. Manny, we love you, brother. Have a great weekend. We'll catch up next week.
All right, brother. You take care.
Thank you, sir. There you go. The great Manny Navarro coming through as always. Love it, man. Good stuff by Manny. Good stuff.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.